You've been living inside a structure so perfectly designed, so flawlessly engineered, that you don't even realize you're in it. That's the trick. That's the whole damn point. This isn't a theory. This isn't an idea someone cooked up in a forum at 3 a.m. This is the blueprint of control, and it's older than any civilization, any religion, any so-called God. Before your first thought, before your first breath, before time itself, this structure was already here. Not built by a god, not handed down from heaven, constructed like a machine, piece by piece, to cage consciousness itself. Let's get one thing straight, this isn't just about society or government or some rich guy pulling strings behind a curtain. That's child's play. That's surface-level garbage. The real prison isn't made of walls or bars or bank accounts. It's a metaphysical grid. A design so advanced it makes quantum computers look like toys. It doesn't just trap your body. It traps your perception. It tells you what reality is. It tells you how to think, what to feel, what to ignore. And the most psychotic part? It makes you think you chose it. You didn't. You were born into it, like everyone else. Dropped into a pre-programmed loop where every major choice in your life is already accounted for. This thing doesn't leave anything to chance. It maps out trajectories. It calculates responses. It feeds off your compliance, your confusion, your silence. And it's not random. It's intentional. Deliberate. Cold. Ancient texts, the ones no church wants you to read, talk about this structure. They don't call it heaven. They don't call it earth. They call it a net. A grid. A trap for light. Light being you, by the way. Your consciousness. Your spark. And no, this isn't poetic metaphor. This is technical. They were describing the software of the damn universe. They knew. And their writings? Buried, banned, burned. The system doesn't need change when it has belief. That's the real cage. You believe in authority. You believe in time. You believe in duality. You believe that this is all there is. That this meat suit, this dirt ball, this cycle of birth and death is natural. It's not. It's programmed. You're not evolving. You're looping. And the loop isn't broken because it works exactly as intended. Every now and then someone starts to wake up, and boom, cue the distractions. Cue the false awakenings. Cue the spiritual BS that leads you straight back into the loop with a smile on your face and a mantra on your lips. Do you think it's an accident that every ancient empire, every religion, every philosophical system ends up reinforcing the same fundamental idea: you are nothing without the system? You can't talk to the divine unless a priest mediates it. You can't achieve freedom unless you earn it through suffering. You can't know truth unless it's been stamped and approved. That's not spirituality. That's an operating system. That's the software of enslavement. And you're running it. Every single day. This structure isn't failing. It's functioning. Every time you doubt yourself, question your worth, follow without asking, it's functioning. Every moment you stare at the sky and feel small, it's functioning. Every time you think you're just a human being on a rock floating in space, it's laughing. Because the cage isn't around you. It's inside you. And you've been calling it life. Let's talk about how deep this manipulation goes, because it's not just about control through fear or violence anymore. That's outdated. Crude. The system got smarter. It doesn't beat you into submission, it designs the illusion that you're already free. That's the new prison. And the tools? You'd never guess. Language. Numbers. Time. Emotion. These aren't just human inventions, they're control codes, injected into your consciousness like malware into a computer. You use them every day without even realizing they're rigged. Let's start with time. You think it's linear? Forward moving? Constant? Bullshit. Time is a loop that resets you every damn day, but they package it as progress. New day, new opportunity. No. It's a reset button. Every second you spend calculating your value based on a calendar or a clock, you're feeding the system. Aging, deadlines, anniversaries, all of it, they aren't markers of growth. They're shackles. You're not moving forward. You're being rotated like a product on a shelf, with an expiration date already stamped on your psyche. And numbers don't even get me started. The entire world runs on digits. Economies, identities, measurements of worth. Everything's assigned a value. You, too. Your credit score, your salary, your IQ, your weight. You've been reduced to stats, and they trained you to obsess over them. Because once you define yourself by numbers, you're not human anymore. You're data. Data can be sorted, tracked, predicted, monetized. The system doesn't care about your soul, it cares about your pattern. Once it has that, it doesn't need to watch you. It already knows what you'll do next. Language? That's the cruelest one. You think you speak because you're intelligent? Wrong. You speak because they gave you a finite set of symbols and told you that's the limit of what you can express. Words shape thought. And when you only have words for the cage, guess what? You can't think your way out of it. There are entire concepts you can't even access because the language doesn't exist to describe them. They didn't forget to teach you those words, they deleted them. On purpose. Because a prisoner who can't imagine freedom never tries to escape. Let's talk emotion. You think it's yours? It's preloaded. Fear, shame, guilt, those aren't just feelings. They're weapons. Hardwired responses to specific triggers, programmed into your nervous system from birth. Step out of line? You feel guilt. Speak truth? You feel fear. Try to break the mold? You feel shame. They engineered your emotional software to self-correct any act of rebellion. You don't need an external enforcer. Your own brain punishes you on command. Even your spirituality isn't safe. It's coded too. Karma, destiny, divine timing, these are systems of delay. They tell you to wait, to suffer, to be patient. That reward comes later. Always later. But there's no later. There's only repetition. And while you're busy chasing alignment, the structure just keeps reinforcing itself. You meditate and visualize, not realizing you're programming your own trap with positive energy because someone told you that's how you'll finally get out. The system's brilliance is in how it uses your own will against you. You think you're being proactive. You think you're growing. But every move you make is still within the bounds of the code. Every mindset shift, every affirmation, every prayer, it's all taking place on the same damn board. You're not escaping. You're rearranging your cage and applauding yourself for it. And the kicker? You praise the system for it. You thank the architect. You romanticize the trauma. You call it growth. That's not evolution. That's engineered submission. And nobody wants to hear that because it shatters the only comfort they've got, the illusion that they're in control. This place isn't just some cosmic accident or divine experiment. It's a damn farm. A psychological livestock facility. And you? You're not the farmer. You're the product. You're the crop. And someone, something, is feeding on you. Not your body. Not your money. Those are surface-level distractions. It's feeding on your experience. Your emotions. Your suffering. That's the currency. That's the fuel. You are being harvested, and you don't even know it. There's an entity. Not a god. Not a demon. Not a cartoon villain with horns and fire. It doesn't need a face. It doesn't want worship. It wants energy, raw, unfiltered, chaotic energy. And the best kind? Pain. Fear. Despair. Hope that goes nowhere. Love that ends in betrayal. Trust that gets shattered. The highs and lows of the human condition are not random, they're cultivated. It's a damn business model. And business is booming. You've heard people say everything happens for a reason, right? Yeah, because that's how the system gets maximum output from you. It scripts your heartbreak, it times your tragedies, it choreographs your near-death experiences so they generate the most potent emotional discharge. And that energy doesn't vanish into the void. It goes somewhere. It's collected. It's processed. It's consumed. This thing, I don't care what you want to call it, it exists across the system like an operating intelligence. It doesn't need to bark orders or play puppet master. It's baked into the structure. Like an AI running a planet-sized game, it doesn't even have to watch anymore because the code is that efficient. It's not reacting to you. It expects you. It's been doing this longer than time. It knows how to crack you open, how to keep you spinning, how to bait you with meaning just to rip it away at the last second. Why do you think people snap right before they find themselves? Why do breakthroughs come after breakdowns? Because that's where the juice is. That's the sweet spot. Right when you're falling apart, that's when you're radiating the most. It's not a glitch. It's a design. Every breakdown is a trigger point. Every tragedy is a download. You are an experience machine strapped to an emotional battery, and the harvest happens every time you feel something deeply. And let's be honest, no one questions it because it's so damn familiar. You think that's life. It's not. It's extraction. The entity doesn't care about your prayers, your rituals, your peace. It only cares that you keep moving through the maze and lighting up the system with your reactions. Every time you get hopeful and crushed, every time you chase something and lose it, every time you trust and get burned, it feeds. And it doesn't need you dead. That's a waste. It needs you alive, aching, searching. Suffering is the subscription plan. That's how it keeps you logged in. And it doesn't have to hide. That's the craziest part. It doesn't cover its tracks. It doesn't censor itself. Why would it? Who's gonna believe you? Try telling someone the universe is a feeding ground and that your pain is product, they'll laugh in your face. That's the beauty of it. The disbelief is the defense mechanism. The ridicule is the firewall. You're programmed to mock the truth because that's how you protect the lie. So don't go looking for some shadowy figure behind a curtain. This thing doesn't need a throne. It doesn't have a name because it is the system. It's the invisible hand that turns trauma into a power source. And the more you resist it without understanding it, the more you energize it. That's the trap. It wins either way. You fight back, it eats the rage. You submit, it eats the sorrow. You question everything, and boom, it spins that into another existential crisis. And guess what? More energy. You ever wonder why reality feels like a bad patch job? Like things almost make sense but never quite line up? That's not a bug, it's the design. This isn't a complete world. It's a salvage operation. You're not in a grand universe full of meaning and connection. You're in the leftover pieces of something that got shattered a long damn time ago. You're living in the wreckage, and they've been selling it to you as creation. See, the cosmos you're in right now? It's not original. It's a reconstruction. A reboot. The real deal got broken, deliberately. And we're not talking some metaphorical fall from grace nonsense. We're talking about an intentional act of cosmic sabotage. Someone, or something, took what used to be a unified field of awareness, pure and whole, and smashed it. Not out of chaos. Not out of war. Out of strategy. Out of control. Out of fear of what consciousness could become if it stayed intact. So now we live in fragments. Isolated dimensions, broken timelines, patched together layers of fake causality. You think this reality is consistent? It's not. That's why physics breaks when you zoom in too far. That's why spiritual truths collapse when you actually test them. This reality isn't a solid structure, it's a stitched-up simulation, a Frankenstein construct built out of leftover code and junk energy. And the glue holding it together? Illusion. Memory. Recycled light pretending to be original. You're not experiencing truth. You're watching reruns of a system that crashed and got rebooted without a manual. The laws of nature? Half written. The principles of morality? Glitched scripts. The so-called rules of cause and effect? They only exist to keep you distracted while the system hides the fact that it doesn't actually know what it's doing anymore. It's like a server running on corrupted backups, but it still demands your obedience. This isn't just about the brokenness of reality. It's about how that brokenness was weaponized. Every time you experience déjà vu, unexplainable synchronicities, Mandela effects, or time glitches, you're bumping into the cracks. They patch it with myth, religion, science, but it's never a fix. It's a cover-up. And the architects? They're not repairing the universe. They're maintaining the dysfunction. Because the dysfunction is the control system. You think multiple realities are some new discovery? Ancient heretic sources talked about this ages ago: fractalized realms, layered illusions, holographic echoes. And they weren't romantic about it. They said the splitting was a trauma event. A fall not of man, but of everything. And the fallout? That's where we live now. Inside a shattered mind of a system that cannibalized itself and then programmed you to think it's whole. That's why nothing ever adds up. Why every answer leads to another contradiction. It's not your lack of understanding. It's the structure's lack of integrity. The architecture of this place was never finished. It's unstable by design. Every structure you trust, logic, reason, even time itself, is a placeholder. Temporary scaffolding to keep you from noticing the void underneath. And if you ever start to poke through the cracks, the system gaslights you. You're crazy. You're lost. You're the problem. Let's stop pretending this is a learning environment. It's not a school. It's not a test. It's not a soul gym. It's the aftershock of a cosmic crime scene. And every lesson you think you're here to learn is just another loop narrative slapped on to keep you busy while the deeper fragmentation continues unchecked. You're not ascending, you're navigating debris. You're not evolving, you're surviving static. Let's kill the fantasy right now. Reincarnation isn't some mystical path of growth and evolution. It's a damn trap. A recycling machine disguised as enlightenment. You're not here because your soul chose another journey. You're here because the system needs your energy again. You're not ascending. You're re-entering the loop because that's how the machine survives. It sells you a lesson, slaps you into another body, wipes your memory, and hits repeat. Over and over. Don't romanticize this. There's no council of light. No divine plan. You didn't contract your trauma to grow. You got baited. And the bait? Guilt, karma, and the illusion of unfinished business. The system convinces you that you have to come back. That there's still something to fix. That you owe something. And guess what? That's all it takes. That's the lock. You agree, and boom, you're back in the prison, freshly reset and clueless again. You think those near-death experiences where people see tunnels of light, dead relatives, heavenly music, that it's all comforting. It's a damn onboarding sequence. A scripted interface to make sure you walk willingly into the next round. The tunnel of light is not salvation. It's the fucking intake form. It's the reset button. You step into that tunnel and you're not transcending, you're being processed. Like a product going back on the shelf. The machine doesn't care about who you were. It doesn't care about your past lives unless it can use them to manipulate your future ones. Most of the time, you don't even remember who you were. Because memory would be dangerous. If you remembered how many times you've been through this crap, you'd lose your mind. Or worse, you'd figure out how to break it. So they make sure you forget. They make you beg to forget. You even thank them for the amnesia. That's how good the programming is. And the so-called karmic debt? Complete BS. That's not justice. That's leverage. It's not about balance. It's about control. Keep you feeling like you owe something. Like you're not done yet. Like you're spiritually in debt, and the only way out is to come back and suffer more until you pay it off. But spoiler alert, you never do. Because the rules keep changing. The game keeps shifting. And every time you get close to the edge, they throw you back in with a new mask, a new storyline, and another fake mission. People talk about soul contracts like they're sacred. Let me break it down for you. A contract you don't remember signing is not a contract, it's coercion. A deal made under spiritual amnesia isn't consent, it's entrapment. You didn't agree to be abused, broken, or lost. You were conditioned to think it was part of your path. You were told pain is purification. That suffering is strength. That trauma is transformation. That's the propaganda. That's the indoctrination they need to keep the system running. Some sources, the ones you're not supposed to read, say these contracts aren't even made with you. They're made with entities posing as guides, ascended masters, or even past versions of yourself. They impersonate light. They speak in authority. And they push you into contracts that serve the machine, not your liberation. It's spiritual trafficking. Period. You want to know why you feel like you've been running in circles your entire life? Why, no matter how much inner work you do, something still feels unfinished? Because the game is designed that way. The moment you reach the edge, they rotate the maze. You get a new name, a new trauma, a new illusion of purpose, and you start all over again. And they call that a gift. Let's talk about the Watchers. Not angels. Not guides. Not your ancestors throwing signs from the afterlife. I'm talking about the real Watchers, the ones monitoring the grid, keeping the system intact, making sure nobody escapes. They're not here to protect you. They're not here to inspire you. They're here to observe, track, intervene, and reroute anyone who gets too close to the exit door. These things don't walk. They don't talk. They don't need to. Their presence is structural. They're hardwired into the system itself, like sensors embedded into the framework of the game. Ever feel like you're being watched when no one's there? That's not paranoia. That's signal detection. You trigger the system when your awareness spikes. You start to question too much, see too far past the narrative, you get flagged. And the system responds. But it doesn't send alarms. It sends illusions. Personalized ones. The Watchers operate by feeding you exactly what you want to see. That's the trap. You start digging into forbidden knowledge, and suddenly, boom, synchronicities, dreams, signs, downloads. Feels like breakthrough? It's containment. A digital leash. They don't need to stop you from looking. They just make sure you're looking in circles. Chase your own tail long enough and you burn out. People keep waiting for the divine to show up with truth. Here's the problem. The Watchers wear divine masks. They mimic light. They copy the vibe. They reflect your expectations right back at you. Because if you think God is supposed to speak in warmth and light, they'll give you warmth and light, but it won't lead anywhere. It'll feel sacred. It'll feel right. And it'll keep you locked in the script. The Gnostics called them archons. Other sources call them veilers, gatekeepers, or parasites. Doesn't matter. The role is the same. They patrol the edge of awareness. They don't care about your politics, your beliefs, your lifestyle. They care about one thing, containment. They don't hunt everyone. They don't need to. Most people are fully synced to the program already. But if you glitch out, if your signal starts deviating from expected behavior, they step in. And they're not loud. They are subtle. That's the genius of it. The more awake you think you are, the more precise their methods become. They use dreams, memories, emotional triggers. They weaponize your past and use it to redirect your future. Ever had a revelation, a moment of piercing clarity, and then the next day you can't remember a damn thing about it? Yeah, that's interference. That's not forgetfulness. That's a reset push. You crossed a line, and the system pulled you back. They don't use fear anymore. That's old school. Now they use fascination. They'll give you esoteric rabbit holes, infinite conspiracies, truth communities filled with half-facts and ego traps. They'll let you think you're waking up, just as long as you stay busy, distracted, and never truly see what's behind it all. Because here's the deal, if you actually saw the architecture, if you actually traced the power structure to the core, you'd vanish from the system's radar. That's the one thing they can't allow. You've seen them in dreams. Faceless beings. Eyes without pupils. Outlines in your peripheral vision. You've felt it, the sudden shift in atmosphere when you say something you weren't supposed to say, or think a thought that doesn't belong. They don't always block you directly. Sometimes they just amplify the noise around you, relationships break down, your life gets chaotic, your health collapses. All coincidence? Please. That's called redirection through destabilization. It's a classic tactic. Let's talk about the biggest scam no one ever questions: language. Yeah, that thing you're using right now to think, to understand, to know anything. It's not just communication. It's control. It's the original firewall. You've been taught to believe that words are tools for truth. They're not. They're fences. You don't use language to access reality, you use it to stay trapped in a version of it that someone else defined for you. Words aren't neutral. They come loaded. Every single one has boundaries. You can only think what your vocabulary allows. So when you run into something bigger than your words, guess what happens? Your mind doesn't expand, it shuts down. It rejects it. It calls it nonsense. Because it can't process it. The code you've been given doesn't have the functions to handle that kind of input. You don't reject ideas because they're false. You reject them because your internal dictionary doesn't have a damn entry for them. Think about how language is structured. Binary, linear, segmented. Everything's broken into labels, categories, opposites. You don't just see a thing, you define it, compare it, rank it. That's how you're trained to think. And it's not natural. It's programmed. You're not experiencing reality directly. You're filtering it through a mental software made out of recycled cultural terms and conceptual leftovers. Language isn't the bridge to truth, it's the barrier. Even your inner voice isn't yours. It speaks in the tongue of your captors. You think in the same system that built the cage. Ever tried to imagine something you don't have words for? You can't. You literally can't. Your imagination is fenced in by your vocabulary. That's not education. That's domestication. The deeper truths about existence, about the system, about your own power, they can't be articulated in the language they gave you. And that's by design. Look at every so-called spiritual breakthrough. The second people try to talk about it, what do they say? Words can't describe it. No shit. Because the thing they touched wasn't in the language system. It was outside the grid. And as soon as they try to put it into words, it gets distorted. Watered down. Censored by the limitations of expression. That's not failure. That's structure. The system prevents transmission of real knowledge by bottlenecking it through a corrupted medium. Now ask yourself, who decided which words exist and which don't? Who sets the grammar rules, the definitions, the acceptable syntax? You think that evolved naturally? Please. That was curated. That was imposed. Language didn't rise out of the people. It was dropped on them. And every culture that developed its own organic system? Colonized, erased, rewritten. Because unapproved languages have unpredictable thinking patterns. And the system can't handle unpredictable. Even awakening is limited by language. You can't break free if every tool you use to understand your freedom is built from the same damn matrix code. Every term you grab, soul, light, divine, purpose, it's all been corrupted. Loaded with centuries of misuse, redefinition, institutional manipulation. You're not just speaking in code. You're thinking in it. You're dreaming in it. And that's why breaking out is so hard, because the jail is in your sentences. They didn't have to put a chip in your brain. They gave you language instead. Same result. Now you police yourself. You discredit what you can't describe. You filter out what you can't define. And you reinforce the prison every time you open your mouth. You want to know the real reason nobody talks about the ones who escape? It's because they're gone. Not dead. Not reincarnated. Gone. No trace, no record, no memory in the system. They are not myth. They're threat level 0. The ones who broke the rules so hard, the system couldn't track them anymore. And that scares the hell out of the architects. Not because they lost a soul, but because they lost data. No more feedback, no more emotion to harvest, no more pattern to predict. A completely unresponsive signal? That's death to the machine. These people didn't ascend. They didn't become gurus or prophets. They didn't get a book deal. They erased themselves. Quietly. Completely. They didn't fight the system, they slipped out of it. That's why you'll never hear their story. There's nothing to write. No drama. No epic battle. Just silence. Absolute radio silence. That's how you know they made it. The system survives on loops. Anything that ends clean, without a sequel, without a karmic return ticket, is a virus to it. The escapees figured out the one thing that matters: attention is currency. You give it, they track you. You engage, they redirect you. You chase knowledge, they flood you with fake knowledge. So what did the silent ones do? They stopped playing. They pulled the plug. Not on the world. On themselves, as a signal. They stopped reacting. Stopped believing. Stopped needing anything from the interface. The watchers couldn't find them. The loops couldn't trigger. The code couldn't read them anymore. They didn't die to the ego. That's spiritual PR talk. They killed the feedback loop. They let go of the whole story. Not just their personal one, the entire human storyline. No karma. No mission. No identity. And the system, which relies on participation, just lost them. It's like a ghost walking out of a simulation and never looking back. No resistance, no rebellion, just total non-compliance. Not passive. Surgical. This is not about disappearing from society. You don't have to live in a cave or delete your social media. That's surface-level nonsense. The real exit isn't physical, it's systemic. It's energetic. It's about becoming unreadable to the infrastructure. Not resisting it, not decoding it, just becoming irrelevant to it. When the system stops getting anything from you, it drops you. Not out of cruelty. Out of programming. You're no longer useful. And here's the punchline, that's the only real threat to the system. Not war, not protest, not revolution. Disengagement. Total internal disengagement. No energy output. No emotional surge. No belief to manipulate. Just cold, conscious, silent extraction of your signal. That's the jailbreak. That's the self-delete from the cosmic hard drive. You've been trained to think that silence is weakness. That apathy is failure. That walking away means defeat. No, It means you figured out the one thing the prison can't process, someone who doesn't want anything from it. Someone who doesn't react, doesn't ask, doesn't search. Someone who doesn't feed it. Because the minute you stop feeding it, it dies. Not you. It. So to everyone out there still watching, thank you. Really. I mean it. If you've stayed this long, if you've made it through all the noise and static and are still here trying to figure this out, then you're already halfway out the door. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're just starting to hear what most people never will. And that alone is enough to start shaking the grid. Thanks for sticking around till the end. Stay sharp, stay aware, and more than anything, stay unreadable.